Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Laura Schifrin, and I chair the planning board and calling this planning board meeting to order of September 12th at 6:33 p.m. Roll call vote, please.
Ian Ortiz present.
Present.
Robert Darian is present.
Carol Haas is present.
And Laura Schifrin present. So we have a quorum. 1.2 recite of the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you to all of our veterans and our current military serving our country. The meeting is being recorded. And 1.4 chairman's additions, deletions to agenda are unforeseen prior to 48 hours of this meeting. I don't have any. Okay. 1.5 review volunteer response forms received from planning board vacancy.
None of them received.
Okay. And I have not had a chance to return that call.
Oh, you had a call?
From,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I don't believe that will be
forthcoming.
Okay.
1.6 approval of August 8th, 2022 public session. And if you would like to include the executive session. No, excuse me, public session, and then August 22nd, 2022 minutes.
Any comments? You're just make a motion. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of August 8th, 2022 public session and the minutes of August 22nd, 2022.
Is there a second?
I so second.
Robert seconded. Any further discussion on the minutes for August 8th and public session and August 22nd? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote, please.
Robert Darian.
Carol Haas is yes.
Ian Ortiz, yes.
And Laura Schifrin, yes. Okay, so we have, we're early for our 6:45, so I'll go into the work session. Trying to think of what might be quick. None of the work session will be quick. So,
3.2. That's just enough.
3.2. Zoning amendment procedural update.
Yep. So I just wanted to let everybody know that is in process now. I'm working on the Form 7. It's going to be the board needs to select a date for the public hearing. I asked for the dates of town meeting. I don't know what they are yet. So, but typically the public hearing is held like a month before.
Okay, so we can do it maybe at the next meeting.
October, I would assume. Like I said, I've asked for the dates of town meeting and I don't know what they are.
No, I meant, can we wait till October to set the meeting?
I would think you would want to have it in late October. I think. Yeah. Does anybody know when town meeting?
I didn't know.
Do you know?
No.
It's still a real question mark. Okay. So yeah, I guess we would wait till October 3rd to set.
Well, we don't have any control.
Yeah, and the thing is,
At this table.
it's only 2 weeks, so
2-week notice for public hearing.
Yeah, publication, and so that's fine. We can wait until October 3rd. Yeah. No worries, and that will give the board time to.
Can we do it the last Monday of October?
Yeah, I think so. The date on that one. Isn't that getting into the Halloween?
Yeah.
How we got
I think it's the net.
yeah.
I'm not good with calendar, except it pops up sometimes when I have something as far as going to it. Let me see. I should be better at this, but I'm not. I don't know. Yeah. Okay, I got a calendar. It is the 24th, October 24th. It's my birthday. Oh, it was my anniversary.
Okay, so that's the scheduled meeting, I guess, yeah.
On your birthday.
So the 24th, we could do that.
Okay, why don't we do that?
Schedule the public hearing for the age restricted amendment. Okay, good. And I'll find out when the warrant opens and closes, so we can make sure that.
Because we already voted. We have to send forward. Okay. All right, okay, and so how about we go to 4.1, approved 2022, there's no, oh yeah, there is. Do you want to just give the update of where we are in the master plan received from town clerk and all of that?
Yeah, it
And
has
publication?
been, yeah, it has been stamped in with the town clerk. They've also received a print copy for their file, so it's not, you know, it's there permanently. It's also gone up on the town website under reports and bylaws. So right on the main page, if anybody wants to look at that. It's also going out to the Board of Selectmen. I'm trying to think of what else is it. I think that's it from now. And then we just need to just let you know that that's been updated. And there is a print copy also in Mass Landing.
Doesn't it go to the state at some point?
No, it actually doesn't have to.
Oh, but it's used when we want to go for a state grant.
Oh, it's
Okay.
used
It's
reference.
yeah.
Oh,
So the document they reference, you have
okay,
to have.
so you don't really have to send it to the state for their review or anything?
No,
Okay.
we checked. on
It's
that.
not like the housing plan.
It can be referenced at any time, so it's available if
Okay.
anyone
Mhm.
is working on any projects and
Okay,
need
that's
information.
good.
So the Board of Selectmen are going to actually discuss it, and then I believe for the implementation phase, I'm not 100% sure, but at that point, they're going to kind of take it from there and decide how to implement it, I believe. So I'm waiting to hear back. They have the document. They did take it in correspondence at the previous meeting. Sometime I'll check in and find out how the implementation phase will go.
Okay.
So.
And as things move along, it will still be our or the planning board's intent to tweak it. Hopefully each year something will get tweaked, so it never looks like it's that old.
Yes, yeah, so you'll have to have a discussion on that and how you guys want to
Yeah,
do that.
it's just been a little crazy lately, and I doubt it will happen at the October 3rd meeting.
Yeah, so
Because
I
that'll
think
be a
that
little
after
close.
town meeting, after special town meeting sometime, maybe, talk
Yeah.
about implementation of that.
Okay. 4.2 letter from Glenn Eaton. Would you like to do that?
Community compact grant opportunities. Yeah, that should be in the folders.
But nothing's in the books anyway.
No,
Nothing's
it's all
here.
in,
Okay.
in the meeting folder.
Let's look at what we can done. We've got about 3 minutes to check some things off our list.
Okay, there's a letter in your packet from MRCC.
Community compact grant opportunities.
Can you read it?
No, I'm just reading off of here.
I don't know what that means.
I think what he's telling us in that is that regionally at MRPC, they like to make sure that all the communities that belong to MRPC understand what grants are available for them to apply for. Basically, it's generally it is money from the state.
Mhm.
So
I can't get it.
Hmm.
All right, let me try. Okay.
hi Stan. just a couple of minutes. It's okay.
I tried to put a spin on it, and it's huge.
Oh. You know, technology is great. Gives me a headache, but
Yeah, especially when it doesn't work.
right.
I have a lot of computer problems. I'm gonna have to take it back to Staples. I don't know, bugs.
Okay. So we're at 6:44 and our appointment's at 6:45 and it's not a public hearing, so we can really.
Good evening.
Good evening.
You guys will get sick of seeing me. I'm Stan Dillis from Dillis Lloyd. I'm here enough to make them want to see me walk through the door. But we have an A and R.
I don't believe
plan.
that.
You have a plan.
We have an A and R plan. It's a
Okay.
property on Southwell Road. It's about 13.5 acres, and we're cutting off one lot and leaving the existing house.
Okay.
The lots all meet the acreage frontage requirements.
You're just separating the lots.
Yeah.
Creating a new lot.
Creating a new lot, yeah.
Approval not required, A and R. So,
Very good.
you have a motion?
Um,
What, is there another checklist that I have to go through with this?
So we have, I did go through the checklist, you're welcome to be back in.
That's your-
Just want to state for the
I do.
record that everything is done.
Yeah, everything's done, I did go through it.
Are those the copies that we would be signing?
Yeah. They are. The checklist that I did go through.
Beth is very thorough. She
I know
usually
she
calls
is.
me and says, hey, you dummy, you did this or whatever.
Yeah, she is.
Everything was-
I don't believe she ever used that word.
The only
Oh,
thing-
well,
for you.
not to my face.
Yeah, no.
Probably in the room, she's like, oh, he did it again.
Yeah, I think that the scale is 1 to 50. The planning
Oh.
board typically can accept, you know, it's
1 to
it's supposed to be
40, right?
1 to 40, but we can typically accept 1 to 50.
Do we need a waiver on it?
It's usually accepted by a vote. You don't need a written waiver on it, but you can, you know, vote
A
to
vote,
accept
okay.
scale. And
Right.
Go ahead with that.
And that's so it all shows on one.
Right.
plan.
And this is great.
Yeah, so you have to do that.
I'll entertain a motion to accept the scale of 1 to 50.
I'll make a motion to accept the scale of 1 to 50.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any further discussion on that? Plan looks good. I'll take a roll call vote, please.
Barbarian approved.
Carol Hoff says yes.
Ian Ortiz, yes.
Laura Schifrin, yes.
All right, you can go ahead and sign that, and I'll have to get, you want to take that tonight? Let me get it.
It's.
Oh, I can't use my pen.
You can on the, yeah, that's right. You can on the, you can start working on the.
Thank you for bringing us something easy.
The Bolton Planning Board, once they had a blue pen, like a Sharpie, and they signed it blue, and they brought it to the registry, they wouldn't accept it. So
Oh,
they had to go back and get it re-signed, but from the time that they re-signed it and they brought it back to the registry, the planning board had changed and they keep the name on file at the registry, so they wouldn't accept it again because it was still new members.
wow. Wow.
Well,
Yes, sir.
Sign off, too.
Yep.
Um,
Ian, do you want to come in when you get a chance to sign?
Yeah. Yes, I can go around.
yeah, when I did, there's 3 of them, so
Yeah.
I can only sign this one.
Sign this one. Sign that one.
you know, I talked to Beth about it before, but you guys might wanna consider the amount of copies that you need, because in most towns, they want just a couple of full size, and then we give them reduced copies. Cause I don't know where all the 7 copies go, but every time I take the copies, they go, geez, it's an awful lot of paper.
I was just thinking the same thing. Thinking about all
Well,
the
the
trees
Bylaw
that people
gets
complain
filed
about.
Bylaw goes to the
Bylaw.
registry, yeah.
Do you need to have large copies like
Just
this?
saying that we
And
talked
are they
about
for
that
all the
before.
departments or what?
Well, typically what happens is I transmit all of those to the conservation, to the building department, to the assessors, and they go in their files, and the board of selectmen gets a copy, everybody.
I was just saying that.
Where do they
In
go?
most towns now, yeah, I give for Nylar and 2 or 3 full size, and then a bunch of reduce 11 by 7.
Okay, so yeah, I
I
would
think
think
that's something like that.
we should, yeah, we
Because
should
it's just
do
so much
that.
paper.
Yeah.
Do we need to put them with just your signatures?
Well,
Yeah. that's the majority.
Ian's the majority of the board, and Ian did vote on it.
Yeah.
but I'm wondering if maybe you should re-vote it and have him abstain, or does it matter? I'm not sure that it matters, you know? Or do I have to wait for him to come in and sign because he voted? I
I think it's as long as there's a majority.
Yeah.
Signatures on 3 signatures for an A&R.
That's my
Okay.
guess.
I'm good with that.
Just need.
Chair, when do you need me to go in?
I think we're okay.
Okay, wait, you don't have to come in. Because we have a majority signing
Yeah.
and a record of your vote.
Yeah.
So as long as there's a majority signing, you should be good. And I think it's
Okay.
well.
Oh, okay, thank you. Fantastic. I have that, I think.
Okay.
We're working on
Okay,
I can go back and read those. We need to give the
it.
community.
Thank you.
You're
okay,
welcome.
thank
Good
you,
night.
thank you, Stan.
I have the letter.
Okay, which is the letter from Glenn, yep, okay.
So this is a letter, you guys have this in your packet, I don't know if you could read it, but it said, I'm reaching out to all of you today to follow up on Lieutenant Governor Karen Polito's memo to each community in our region, announcing a new round of community compact cabinet grant opportunities. The 4 categories in the program are best practices, IT grant, efficiency and regionalization grant, and municipal fiber grant. The best practices program is taking applications beginning August 15th, with applications being available on a rolling basis under first come, first served rules until funds are exhausted. Eligible applicants can choose up to 2 best practices. The IT grant program is a competitive grant with the application period from September 6th to noon on October 7th. The efficiency and regionalization grant is also competitive with the application period being October 10th to noon on November 10th. The municipal fiber grant program is competitive and matching with the application period being March 15th, 2023 to noon on April 14th, 2023. And then there's a link for more information. Here at MRPC, we have reviewed the state's list of best practices and are providing you with this letter those best practices that MRPC has the capacity and knowledge to complete for our communities. Please be advised that the MRPC is a unit of government and exempt from MGL Chapter 30B procurement. As such, any of our communities can engage the MRPC in an intergovernmental agreement, enabling the MRPC to deliver the planning services desired by your community under the best practices program. Should you wish to discuss the matter further, please do not hesitate to reach out to Karen Chapman, the Planning and Development Director. So that, and then there's a number of pages here on the community compact best practice areas that MRPC is able to help us with. So I'm assuming that, you know, this went to all elected officials. That's why I'm, I conveyed it to you, transferred it to you guys. So,
Okay,
I
so
don't get it.
planning wise, I would think again, planning wise, I would think that the regional best practices community best practices for regional might be interesting because it seems like that would be working with your surrounding communities and trying to get the most for your money, you know, kind of thing.
Exactly.
So if we were going to consider this, and it wouldn't be us as planning board that would be doing it, so it would be the Board of Selectmen, we might want to recommend to the Board of Selectmen that this would be a good one to try to get. They may on their own think that the technical one is a good one, you know, as well to go for, or the fiber one that but sitting in our seat, I think that recommendation for the regional might be good. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I like the idea of regional, because if we can get the towns to come up with something that they can actually do together and save money.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
What do you think, Robert?
It sounds good. I have to agree with Carol. I think that's a good approach to look at this.
Okay. Ian, any thoughts?
I have none. I guess I'm with you in the part of like let the board of selectmen like see their point and then from there move on that part.
Okay. Do we need a motion to make that recommendation to the Board of Selectmen?
Yeah, so you're
I don't think
you're
so,
talking
yeah.
about the efficiency and regionalization grant.
Yeah.
Okay. So I can convey that to them if you want, that the board would recommend at least exploring that grant opportunity. If you'd like that.
Yeah.
Who applies for the grant? The Board of
The Board of Selectmen. It goes through the Board of Selectmen's office. It wouldn't be the planning board or.
Right.
No. I think that would help planning if they did something like that.
Efficiency and regionalization, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Management with that.
Now, should we go back up to the, well, let's finish the correspondence. I think we get that out of the way and see how we feel after. 4.3, report submitted by Michael Crowley regarding the annual report for Massachusetts Small MS4 general permit for the town of Townsend.
That is for each of you, if you have interest, to go through and find out what the town is doing for the town's stormwater management permit. You guys are the stormwater authority for major projects, as you know, but the town itself has to submit this report every year and let the state know what we're doing to keep stormwater management in the whole entire town. What we're doing to address it in terms of things like catch basins, cleaning catch basins, and educating the public on stormwater runoff and the effects of stormwater runoff. And so that's
So this was his report that he has done for this.
exactly every year. So it's in your
Okay.
folder if you want to
Okay.
look at it.
Nothing we have to vote on or Okay.
Information, yeah.
information only. Okay, so the email from Helen.
This lady has a room.
Oh. Alyssa Struthers, you're on mute and your hand is up. And I don't want to ignore you.
I didn't mean to have my hand up.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us. Did you want to say anything?
Nope, just observing.
Okay. Thank you for being with us. Okay, so 4.4 email from Helen Magliozzi. Harbor Trace Water Treatment Plant.
Were you
Probably.
able to read that?
No.
Okay, so Helen is a concerned citizen.
Oh,
She is a new resident and she sent in an email to address to the board
do you want to
as
read that?
well as
Is
many
it
other boards. Yeah, Board of Health, Board of Selectmen, Town Administrator, Land Use Department,
Okay.
Water Department, Board of Water Commissioners, Conservation Commission, Planning Board and Zoning Board. So I'm conveying it to you with the understanding that right now, the water treatment plant project is in its very early stages, in that there is not even,
Right.
to my understanding, any plans yet, like site plans or anything. And the town administrator is going to be working with the water department superintendent to get a meeting together for the public information. So that's where I wanted to
Well, she's from, Timberlake Park is having a horrible problem with the water. It's brown and it has sediment in the drinking, in the water treatment, and the water people say, oh yeah, it's fine to drink.
Oh, no, they just had there was a notice that came out, and it was, I can't remember if it was emailed or on Facebook from the water department about that they just went through a cleansing of one of the wells, and that you will see, and that they were telling you that that's what you will see
It's temporary.
until it runs out. It's temporary.
That's all.
Except it's been temporary for, I don't have that problem where I am, but when I go out walking, this has been a problem because people have been talking about it every time I go walking.
Right. Well,
Do you have brown water? Do you have this? It's been a couple of months now.
part of the problem was one of the wells was contaminated, and they had to get a new well. So that stressed the remaining well in the system. And so my understanding is the new well is online now, so they have the water supply. But it's going through the whole system, and so it's gonna take a while to, filter out the debris from changing and switching the water lines and the pressure and flow. So that usually encompasses draining fire hydrants and a lot of other things to get that to happen without burdening the water pressure in the system so people can still have water. So I think, although it's a current situation that people are very unhappy about it should be a short-term situation.
It's been quite a while. So we did get an email saying we're gonna start flushing this
Right.
today in Timberlake Park.
That should
But
solve.
the problem, like I said, I don't have a problem, but a lot of people I talk to when I'm out walking, this seems to be the number one topic of conversation. The sediment has literally, some people, like one of somebody's was complaining the washing machine died because the sediment got into it.
Yeah,
It's
very pronounced, the problem.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
sure the public hearing will be interesting
Yeah.
when it happens. And and this does say Harbor Trace. Harbor Trace has a number of homes in that cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
Is the treatment plant just for Harbor Trace? Or is it for that whole area?
So
I think it's for the Harbor Trace well. Is it for that well? Because that's what PFAS.
I'm not that specific with the water department, but it's pretty much focused in Townsend Harbor on the east side of town.
Ian, do you have any issues with water there?
I did have, but I haven't seen it in maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks or so. But I did.
Harbor Trace.
But I did had for a little bit brown water. You have to let it run for a couple seconds before it clears out. Yeah.
Okay.
But I thought it was already fixed because I haven't seen it in a while. So.
Okay. Very good. Thank you for that feedback. Okay, 4.5, mass drought flyer.
Okay. So the drought flyer is in the folders. I can't screen share it with you, I'm sorry. But there was also a press release too that came out in August, and basically declaring a level 3 critical drought, as you've seen around town. So that information is all in there. I'm not going to read that for you, but that's all for you to look at.
I think it was great that even though we still had questions from certain areas of town, that it was great that they had it on the sign.
Yeah.
State level 3 drought, don't use your hoses a lot.
Yes.
Don't
Been
water
on
the lawns.
website. It's
Well, it's restricted between 9 and 5, isn't it? I think the current restrictions.
Yeah, but unfortunately, some people don't read.
Yeah.
So 4.6, stormwater permit inspection reports, other related correspondence. Do we have any?
Yeah, we did receive 2 reports, and again, you can review those. One was from the Wheeler Road project.
Yep.
And the other was from Campbell Farm. Everything's up to date at the October 3rd meeting. I'm gonna pull together all the active permits for stormwater management and just give you pretty much a rundown on how everybody is doing in terms of where they are with their inspection reports and, you know, certificates of completion. So,
Just monitoring it, that's all.
It is being monitored. I mean,
Yes.
because we are getting
Yeah.
reports of what we have.
so I'll give you a report on the 3rd.
Okay. 4.7, notices from Townsend and other towns.
All in your folders. I can read them. There's
Just
actually
summary.
one that is probably of great interest. I'll read that one from the town of Pepperell. I'll read the whole notice because it is something that we are considering. That Mike probably has talked to the board about the 40R.
Yeah.
Smart Growth.
Yeah,
Okay, so this is from the town of Pepperell, notice of public hearing, the planning board for a 40R smart growth overlay district. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 5, the Pepperell Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Monday, October 17th at 6 p.m. concerning the following subject on the warrant for the November 14th, 2022 town meeting. Number 1, to see if the town of Pepperell will vote to amend the zoning bylaw amending section 2200 overlay districts to include 40R smart growth overlay district. And that's referred to as SGOD, amending section 2300, the zoning map, and adding section 9000 40R smart growth overlay district bylaw. The district is intended to incentivize the creation of new housing units by permitting dense development wherein at least 20% of units are affordable. The district includes 2 sub-districts, 59 Layton Street and 59A Layton Street, 41A Lowell Road, and 37 Nashville Road. And all of those have parcel IDs associated with them. Number 2, to see if the town will vote to amend the zoning bylaw by making technical edits to the zoning bylaw to move and renumber section 9000, administration and procedures, to section 10,000, administration and procedures, to move and renumber section 10,000 definitions to section 11,000. So those are more technical, like administrative. But this, you know, this is what we were talking about when Mike came to talk to the board about. And so this process is in place. And if you want to learn more, you can go to that public hearing.
Aren't we going to try to do that for our special town meeting?
No, I do not believe it would be. I would have to ask Mike probably that. He's the one that's been going to different boards and committees and working on the bylaw and that. So I can ask him.
Is there a draft of that bylaw already?
Not to my knowledge. I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, I know the merit of the overlay district, and I'm generally conceptually very supportive of it. However, just the designated overlay district without some kind of design parameters and you know, can really, it's an opportunity for the town to control the quality of that space.
Yeah.
And the impact it has on the surrounding citizens and other people in the community. And so I'm in the process of preparing something for this board to consider in terms of some concepts that should be addressed. So I know the purpose of it, and I know the incentives are very favorable for the town to do these things and increase the units and you know the funds and fees that are presented when these happen. So all those are positive things we want to take advantage of. But the other part of it is I have seen this kind of thing happening, and they become totally focused on quantity of units and not quality of life there. And there are some new architectural concepts such as net zero planning and health design, wellness design concepts that should be integrated in some of what's going to be there. So just to give you a broad understanding of what both those concepts are, a net zero design is a sort of an environmentally responsive thing where you trade off one thing. In other words, I have a building that has more windows on one side than should be there. But in lieu of that, in order to get those views or whatever, I'm giving something back so that the net impact is zero.
Yeah, I get it.
Okay. So that's net zero design. The new one is this wellness design, and that goes far beyond just a floor plan and how many bedrooms and the building code thing. It goes on to the mental well-being of the people in the occupant himself. Okay, and so there's many categories on that, but
I was
I'll
gonna
just
say, how do you construct something for
well,
somebody's mental
it's
well-being?
a concept that you apply when you're designing a project. And so, for example, that we're looking at society today, a lot of people are not returning to office spaces and are not commuting and working at home, okay? So prior to the COVID stuff, everybody wanted an open floor plan, okay? Well, now they're finding they don't have the privacy they need, okay? So that's wellness design as far as the mental health of the occupant. And that extends to the environment, internal and external. And some of the other concepts with wellness design is we've seen the price of food go up, and we've seen the a very strong interest in health foods now and organic foods. So this is even coming into how we design kitchens now and food separation and educating the public what kind of vegetables should be at what temperature and how to sort them. So that even the double door French refrigerator does not do that job anymore because people are trying to preserve food longer. And so those are just some topics that apply to wellness design.
I get it.
And so I wanted to illustrate some of that so that in anticipation that when we do an overlay district, which I'm very encouraged to do, that we have some kind of point system or credits or something so that we can make the mental health of these people much better. And the point in question is a recent subject I brought up to you, what happened in Harvard, Mass. And they're beautiful units, but they're right on top of one another. There's no personal outdoor space. You have
I know what you mean.
windows facing other people's bedrooms, and it's just not a humane kind of environment in terms of lifestyle and people being happy there. And when you do that kind of design, it leads to arguments among the occupants of the area. It leads to tension. And so I don't want to be a position where just providing shelter, and
You were gonna submit some materials
To Mike, right?
at the last meeting to me. I didn't receive them. Did you send them?
pardon me,
You had said you were gonna submit some information
I'm
to me.
preparing it now, it's not complete, yeah.
Would you
So-
like me to reach out to Pepperell to find out exactly what the bylaw is that's going to town meeting?
Yeah, that would be helpful.
And if they have design standards, I can also ask for those.
Right.
It's all,
I actually talked to the director of housing there that because of the housing authority here, the housing there, and they are working on this greatly.
So-
So,
good. So
um,
they're very connected.
Well, I just want to illustrate one of the tools that we could have here. If you apply both wellness concept and net zero concept, you can say to a potential developer, if you do this, we'll give you another unit, or we can do, allow a break
I
on this,
understand.
that. You understand?
understand
And
that.
so we can apply both concepts to this overlay district.
Okay,
Okay, and would that be under design standards, you're saying, that would be under?
Well,
design standards?
maybe not a requirement,
Yeah.
but a policy
Okay,
and a guideline for them.
not a bylaw.
So when they come in with
Yeah.
a subdivision plan, they'll know the things we're looking for.
Perfect. Got it.
because you remember the area that they're talking about doing this is down by the shopping center.
Yes, I do. And then there was other questions about some other areas in town that this might happen.
Yeah, but I think that's the primary right
Right,
now.
there's a section in West Townsend and there's a section up on the end of Route 13.
Western,
Chase Road,
well, that's 13 in the center.
near the Lunenburg Townsend line on.
There's a
Route
lot of
13.
open space there.
Right.
The thing about this is, unless they want to develop a little shopping there, the thing about this one down here is they have so many things they can walk to right there,
That's right, right.
or
So,
nearby, I can't say walk.
right, so they,
Um,
so that they're not just, put in a bunch of boxes and everybody has to leave all the time.
So there are a couple other notices that you want, but I will make a point to reach out and get a copy of those documents. And email them out to everybody.
Okay, that's
Okay, if anybody wants to, you can Google net zero design and you can do, wellness design. Give you an idea what it's all about.
I understand net zero.
Hmm.
It's a give and take, but, okay, good thoughts. Thank you, Robert.
There's a couple other public hearings if you want them.
Just summary.
Well, Town of Lunenburg public hearing September 12th, which is tonight, so that one is for a change of use from a restaurant to office space in Lunenburg. Town of Pepperell Board of Appeals has a notice of decision. They have granted to D bus services, allowing them to park at Wilton's Farm, out at the Wilton's Farm on 119. So they're gonna be out in the field, I guess. Town of Ashby has posted 2 public hearings on September 27th in their town hall. And one is for a variance with the ZBA. Another one is for a looks like a variance as well for a expansion of a non-conforming structure. Okay, and that's it.
Okay. Thank you. And Carol, safe routes to school?
Okay, Rachel O'Donnell, who was our coordinator, got promoted. So we have yeah, she did. Good for her. And so we have a new coordinator, which I need to get a hold of, Jordan Sales. I'm not sure if that's male or female, because it's one of those names that could go either way. I know last time I talked to Rachel, she had no luck getting
Those appointments.
And I was on a webinar a week or 2 ago, because I do the safe routes to school webinars when they have them. They're only an hour. And unless you have, unless you have some of those assessments, you can't get the grants. But the grants are basically just around the school, and they're crosswalks, painting, and sidewalks. And we seem to be able to get sidewalks and crosswalk painting by other grants.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure how much benefit it is to keep going after the school principals. And all we're really gonna get out of safe routes to school is babies, crosswalks and sidewalks and.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, well, that's good to know.
But I mean, when I get back, I'm leaving for the Cape tomorrow, so I figure the next week I'll reach out to the new coordinator and set up a meeting and see what
Thank you.
same with the,
Okay, that's great to know.
okay.
4.9, training opportunity hazard mitigation planning skills share workshop.
Does
That one
anybody?
that Karen sent to us?
Yes, you did.
Yeah, I saw that.
You have the information, you have a flyer. It's a free workshop, Monday, October 3rd and Tuesday, October 4th from 9 to 12:30. And all the information, it's a FEMA run event,
Oh, yeah,
so
yeah.
it's gonna be really good.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of
And it's
being-
virtual. So, excellent. Yeah, that's.
About.
Oh, I know, it's
Yeah.
during the workday.
Yeah, since FEMA
All
costs me
right.
a lot of money, I'm not a
I
fan
will-
of them.
I've got.
Yeah. So that brings us back to 3.1.
Yeah, so, that was something that you had requested a while ago, the review of 145-42 site plan review regulations. So if you want, I can print everybody out a copy because it's, I don't know, or you can find it in your book. 145-42. So similar to our, the regulation.
145-42. Under zoning.
And similar to what we did with, or what you are doing with the regulations, I could just read through it and see if there's anything in
So
there.
what part of 145 were we gonna do the whole thing?
Mhm. Yeah, so read through it, and if you see anything that jumps out, that just doesn't make sense anymore, or.
Oh.
Would you like me to print out a copy for you?
If I can find.
Oh, so it's just 2 pages?
Should be cool.
But yeah, there's more. Altogether, I think. Okay, well, why don't we see where we are with time in a little bit, and maybe we will do that, okay? So discuss and review planning board fee schedule.
I do have updated information, and I talked to Michael.
Is that what you, no, this is something else.
Yeah, you have accepted the revenue from the accounts for the past, 2017 and FY17 through FY21. Those are there. I spoke with the land use coordinator, and he recommended that maybe one or a couple of you get together in a work session. And he would be happy to meet with you and go over anything that needs to be changed, and we could, I don't know if you have any volunteers, Ian, anybody who wants to come in, but that could happen on the 26th because that meeting, you're canceling the 26th. Yeah, so September 26th meeting is canceled.
That's why we're meeting on October 3rd.
Correct. And
Sorry, I forgot it here.
The 26th is canceled,
Okay.
yes,
Okay.
so.
and that's why we're meeting on October 3rd, because otherwise we would not be meeting on October 3rd.
Yeah.
But now we have 3 public hearings that night.
So if it's a, it's just a suggestion, Mike probably said he would be happy to sit down with a couple of the board members, and then you could go through the filing fees, make any adjustments, and then bring it back to the board for a vote, if that works.
Yeah, that sounds like it's a complicated subject.
Yeah, to tackle in a meeting, Brad.
Do you want to do that? You and Carol want to do that?
I'll work
with
with
Mike?
Carol on
Yeah,
that.
I could do that.
Okay,
Mike
and
would
then
be-
report back? Yeah.
Okay, great. So what I'll do for the 26th then is, I'll set up a Zoom meeting basically, or if you want to come in, it's, and sit in here and you could do that. So it would be, the 3 of you that might.
I just as soon come in, but I gotta make sure I don't have any appointments that. day.
Okay.
I can let you know tomorrow when I
Okay,
go
good.
home.
All right, will you coordinate that with me then, whatever?
Sure.
I have a question about when I looked at these ledgers.
Okay, well, if you wanted, we can probably discuss it at that time, let you guys kind of.
Well, how come the revenue's going down?
Well, I'm not prepared to answer any of the question about the revenues because I just got that information. But that's something that you guys can do in a work session
Okay.
and then work with
You
Mike.
notice that?
And if
Yeah,
you
I
need-
think it was COVID.
And if you need
So
additional,
maybe-
Yeah, of course it was.
yeah. if you
Because
will
the
need additional-
lowest is 2021.
Okay.
which is after 2 years, the other one was 217, so definitely.
Okay,
But I can provide additional information, and Mike can help you with that too. So.
All right, I appreciate it if you guys would do that.
Sure.
All right, so that's that. General discussion, any zoning bylaw amendment proposals for special town meeting.
Yeah, well, that's where we do have been meeting.
We have time,
Mhm.
and so this is where we definitely want to go through 145-42. Okay, so to me, it's kind of the same thing. It's not the same thing, but they're kind of together. Planning board regulations review. What was that referencing?
Well, a continuation of what we started, the other meeting, how we went through the planning board regulations, chapter 175, and you got all the way to definitions,
Yeah,
and you said we need to do this at every meeting.
okay.
So I actually,
Okay,
yeah, I started another section in there, doing that, if you have time to do that on top of this, that's fine. If
Okay.
not, we can always-
so let's go to 145-2.
Robert, do you have a copy?
145-42.
I don't think he has a copy of that, though. I printed out a copy for you.
Do you have a book for Robert?
Is the section that we'll be going over.
Okay, so we're
It's
in
145, 145, 43.
145-42. And it starts with, it's the Townsend Code, 145-42 site plan review special permit. Now, we were going to read this as well and see if we wanted to change something in here.
Exactly.
And then we are the board that does that.
Yeah.
Zoning is the one that interprets.
They are the special permit granting authority for certain special permits. The planning board is the special permit granting authority for site plan review special permit.
Oh,
Okay, and stormwater management permit. So this is your purview in your everyday review of different projects, the projects that come before you. So this would be where you really want to focus what works and what doesn't.
Mhm.
right.
I'm gonna print out one copy. For me, so.
Can
Would you
I-
like a copy? For
I don't need a copy.
Can I discuss paragraph A?
Yes,
I think all the topics that are listed there are appropriate. One of the things that I am concerned with is, and it's a personal thing that I have, but I think it has an impact on the town as a whole. A lot of these developments that have, or a lot of these improvements that are made, whether they're commercial or residential, ignore the scenic route, for example. So I much rather would see maintaining original street views and tree lines, and that kind of preserve the image of a small town, instead of just having all that stuff ignored, dismantled, and now we just have an open vista of whatever the project is. I think it's far more enchanting when you see a sign on the side of the road, you go down a little driveway, and then the whole world opens up to you there. When you bring these facilities right up to the road edge, they can be very distracted for a driver passing by, looking at signs instead of the roadway. They also, so in terms of a hazard, that might be something to think about.
We'll be talking about like commercial signs.
Right, so for example,
Isn't there a
Eh.
bylaw for signage?
well,
Yeah,
no,
and
I'm not
I thought there was
focusing
a
on
first, yeah.
signs, I'm focusing on a sense of, of, of ruralness, okay? So when we have a roadway and we have a commercial enterprise going in there, I'd rather see a buffer zone between the edge of the roadway and the development of the property. And that the purpose of that buffer zone is to maintain the original tree-lined roads and the rural ambience of driving through town. And so I would favor having any development have a 30 or 40-foot buffer zone. And the other advantage of it is not only preserving our scenic route, but it would eliminate, if you have a roadway that has a bunch of things happening on it as you're driving, they can become distractions to the driver. In other words, he's slowing down, he's looking for a specific shop, or he's looking for a,
Yeah.
and that obstructs the traffic and creates a hazard on the road. So it's those kinds of concepts that.
But if I'm looking for a specific store,
Yeah, people do it all the time.
and because I'm looking for a specific store and it's hidden because I can't see it, I'm gonna be slowing down even more. Versus, I mean, even the street signs, like tonight, trying to find, it took me 3 times. I actually went yesterday trying to find Mason Road. I had a map and everything, and I couldn't find Mason Road.
No, because it's after Canal. You have to go to Canal.
Well, Canal and then
119.
Yeah, it's like,
Well, I think you're not understanding the concept that I'm presenting.
Maybe not.
so okay, let me ask
So
you this.
let me.
If you put it, so are you thinking of, I put a little store in, and then so many feet from the street, because I've seen this down in Westwood where they were required to put trees in. So they take trees down, they put the little store, and they'll put like a little, maybe a sidewalk, and then they put trees. So it doesn't obstruct the view of the driveway, but they put some trees in there to make it look prettier than just having an open.
Well, you can see already what's happened. I mean, we have a history of these kinds of projects on highways and roadways. So initially, they would wipe out a whole vegetated area, put a strip mall and an asphalt lot in front, and make a curb cut and put a sign for that particular freestanding site.
But that's what you want in order to encourage business.
But
I think that people will find the business. It's not, what I'm saying to you is the trade-off is you're giving up.
okay, let me say this to you. The dollar store, where the dollar store is.
Yeah.
When I go by there, I think it's the ugliest looking plaza ever. And I've always thought if they could just put, like where the 2 entrances are, but between the 2 entrances, just some greenery, just to make it more attractive. And still be able to see the thing, but it's just so ugly. And just a little bit of greenery, even if you put something along.
Carol, I'm on the same page with you,
Okay.
exactly. Except when they put that store in, they took the mature trees that were there, and now we want to put something back, right? So.
And that was over 45 years ago.
Well,
Because
that's
that
what
was
I'm
there when I
saying.
moved to town.
We've
And there were no
learned from
trees.
that. We've learned from that.
But I kind of get what you're going for, but
Right.
you gotta make that balance where you can still put some foliage in to give it some,
Well, I'm more than just replacing it. I'm
oh, like
telling,
keeping.
keeping what we have. If you go down Route 13 now, or Run 19 now, heading towards Townsend Hill, okay? You come around the Sanderson curve there, all right? And then you're starting into Townsend Harbor, it's a straightaway. They built a new bike path there, right? The bike trail? Okay, that was all tree lined before. Now it's one big open space,
I never figured out why they did that.
right? So that's part of our heritage. That's part of our home
Well, there
small
must have been a
town
give and
feel.
take to the rail trail.
Yeah, because they took down a lot of trees.
No,
I don't know.
but I
from the
don't know.
road to the
I
road
know,
trail,
I know
it's
what
like
you mean.
120 feet.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Uh,
I know what you mean.
I know,
I
I
don't
saw
know
them.
why that was done.
I saw all those trees taken down. I couldn't figure out for the life of me why they took all those trees down.
I
because-
was appalled, like, who did this?
I just think it's been,
Hmm.
I immediately thought it was when the rail trail expands, but that's gonna be parking. That eventually is gonna be parking.
I have a
You're
question.
gonna put, what?
A question. So Robert, where, if you were to do, because if Townsend is supposed, or we wanted to sort of start looking forward and start attracting new people and start attracting like businesses and whatnot, where would you think will be a good place to do a trade-off to actually for new businesses to start rising up? Since
Well, I think we already have some areas that have a lot of potential. This overlay district can do that very job. My point is, as we're discussing overlay districts, I'm trying to make the public aware of something else they're losing. And that's the,
no, I'm all about the environment, and I love trees. I spend most of my weekends just planting trees on my house. It's just I'm with I understand also the trade-off that if in order for a town to progress, sometimes you're gonna lose some things, and I'd hate to be the one to cut trees and whatnot. But right now, the places that we can, like the land that we can use, is either it was like swamp area, like in the far side. In the other side, like most of the other terrains are already taken, and there's not a lot of space for businesses to be born. What we can do is to have like regulations that for every, like the places that the businesses start one out, that they have to be some greenery or have like trees planted or things like that, in some sort of like you took 100 feet over here, then you have to plant like a 1 feet of greenery or something along those lines. But
I'm more an advocate of preserving the tree and vegetation we have rather than replacing with something different. And the point is that when you grow up in a town and you come back 40 years later, you still want to be able to recognize where you grew up. So all this new growth and development, we can't prevent it, and we probably should encourage it in a lot of different areas.
Mhm.
However, we don't have to do that with destroying what we had, you know. And so having a sensitivity about that is important.
And that's what you're a key in this part. Like that's what you're important, because you will be sort of like the brakes.
And the other comment I'd like to make is, if you look at the commercial space that we have in town, so much of it is already vacant.
True.
Okay, now, if you look at society and what's happening today and trying to predict what tomorrow will be, if this transportation stuff continues, you're going to find people not going as far to travel for commercial things, and your local retail shops will now become more significant.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to project what the future might bring, but in that light, we have two things going on. We have a large vacancy rate with commercial buildings now, but if we let that all go, and then we find that transportation is a big costly expense, and having local merchants here is going to be better for the community than trying to drive to Nashua or Pittsburgh or another area. So it's hard to plan for all those scenarios, but I think the caution line is we do not want to discourage or having commercial property in areas in our town. We may need them at some point, and then no matter what type of building type you're talking about, whether it's commercial or residential, I think the concept of preserving the street frontages works all around, and it's like, okay, you get off the highway, this is the area of town you go to, and this is where the commercial is, or this is where a big real estate development is, or something like that, without having it necessarily dominate on the street highway and or a main road.
Okay, well, let's get back to the code and what we see in that first paragraph,
Right.
if anything, that you would recommend changing.
Right. So in that, they described a lot of intentions here. Okay, and one is to support the original. How do I want to phrase that?
The first paragraph A.
Hey,
Perfect.
Supporting the scenic roadway or whatever.
You want to add.
Right, I
You
want
wanna
to
add
add
that
to
'cause
paragraph
it's omitted.
A2 is one of the other intents here,
Oh.
is to preserve as much of the original roadways.
Let's say, so you want to be like a number 4 underneath?
Well, if you're
purpose
into coordination and improvement of systems of vehicular and pedestrian access, drainage, water supply, sewage disposal, lighting, landscaping.
Right, so it should be in number 2.
That would be in number 2
Okay,
as part of the preservation of existing greenery.
Scenic roadway, I would think.
I see add that.
I don't want to leave it as vague as greenery, because that
Well,
sort of basically is tear down what's there and we'll put something else in place.
Right.
And that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to keep our mature trees with the winding, big branches and the shady streets.
So we would just put in scenic roadway after landscaping.
Yeah, I think that's a good term.
Okay.
Preservation of the scenic road.
Scenic roadway.
except every town and every street in Townsend is a scenic roadway.
Well, it is.
Yeah, except for the major state routes.
Right, so,
To me, and well, most of them are not really scenic roadways.
well, if you look,
Well, I think the only thing that's going to happen in here, under here, is that it will be part of the checklist.
Yeah.
that's right,
Okay.
that's right.
So, yeah.
Okay. Wetlands, water.
That's right.
Building, other features that support neighborhood.
And then we can have
I
an
wonder if you
opportunity
would
to
put,
suggest something,
Scenic roadway after water courses and before buildings.
Yeah. I like that. I like that.
Or
Okay.
would you put it support the neighborhood in scenic roadways?
Support the.
That support the neighborhood and scenic roadways.
That support the neighborhood.
That support the neighborhood and scenic roadways. Okay, I like
I
that.
kind of like that better, right? You
Yeah.
like that? Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So, and scenic roadways.
scenic roadway.
Okay, thank you, Robert.
Yeah.
I have one more,
I don't know if I want to ask.
you know,
Wait a
That's a
minute.
good one. Sorry. And then you have to add in.
The purpose and intent of this zoning bylaw. I don't understand how that, you got A and then 1. Why is 1 there?
Because this is a zoning bylaw. The site plan review special permit is the zoning. It's in the zoning bylaw and it's part of the zoning bylaw. That's what the planning board does. They review projects using this.
Oh,
Bylaw.
using the A. Using the A, 1 is part of the A.
Yes. And this is a zoning bylaw. That's why any
Okay.
amendments to it will need to go through town meeting and the Form 7, so the whole process. Any changes that we propose, or you propose, sorry,
Okay,
would go through the process.
so,
To an amendment of the bylaw.
so is everybody good with A?
Yeah.
Is itself, and then everybody's good with 1, the purpose and intent of this zoning
Yes.
bylaw?
yes,
2, we've just made that change. 3, protection of the public health, safety, welfare, property values, and the environment.
I want to add something.
I know you did. Okay,
Occupant wellness.
Occupant wellness? Hmm.
How do you define that though?
That's-
Because everybody's wellness is personal. My wellness.
I don't know
is
how,
not the
I don't
same.
know how we're gonna do it.
I mean, my wellness is not the
Well,
same as your wellness.
Let's just paint a scenario, okay? And I know this is.
But Robert, before you start, wouldn't public health cover occupant wellness?
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I think people have a preconception of what those terms
No,
mean.
but remember that even though they have a preconception, that's why we got people that will interpret this, like the board of selectmen when they like.
Right, but my point is, by including this specifically, it's focusing on a particular type of public health and welfare, okay?
But you're saying
But-
occupant,
Yeah,
you're saying occupant health. How do
You do that? Because everyone is different. That's why you come under public health.
my refutal. Yeah, my refutal company.
All right, give an example.
Let me,
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Give an example.
One at a time.
before everybody gets excited, let me illustrate what I'm talking about. Okay,
Quick. Please.
sometimes it takes a little time.
I know.
In the 60s, we had urban renewal. Okay? Boston, major cities. Wiped out entire communities.
Mhm.
Took people and put them in boxes. Okay? Right? Putting people in boxes. Forcing people from different cultural backgrounds to share a same apartment building. Okay?
They do that all the time in this country.
Yeah.
They did it.
It's
Laura. We're
constant.
not doing that anymore.
Well,
It's not good.
You can't discriminate. That's what
Yeah.
they do. They wanna
Right,
be,
that's right, you can't-
Yeah, that's discrimination right there.
They want to be.
I thought I was
but
gonna-
everybody's going to be happy.
I thought I was
with
gonna have an opportunity to give you examples, okay, before people
Okay, give me an
say
example.
anything. Okay. So what that created was a hostile environment. People did not get along. That meant more police cruisers coming in, more crime coming in. The people were not happy in the units they lived in, and they destroyed them, and now we're tearing them all down. Okay,
You're right.
that's a social problem.
Yeah, and it's
Okay.
happening. It won't stop happening as long as you have a bunch of people
Yep.
that are being forced on the country as a totally.
Right,
I'm not
but this is
talking about
a bunch of
Townsend.
people in this town that can try to address it here, okay?
Hmm.
Okay.
How?
Keep going.
How?
How to address that.
Okay, so the illustration I told you about Harvard, for example, okay? if you really look what really is there, it's nothing but a bunch of boxes, no matter how attractive you make them and how expensive the interiors are. Okay? They are nothing but a collection of boxes. No matter how expensive they are basic housing. So those people in that section of Harvard, in that specific location, whether it's brand new or not, it is a specific ghetto in its own way, because it's got the same group of people and they're all contained and trapped. There's no interaction with the other neighbors, other parts of the town. Avoid them. That's not what we want in our towns.
No, but it's happening everywhere.
We want people. We want to welcome people into our community and make them active participants in it.
Okay.
And so, encouraging a healthy lifestyle on these sites rather than just how many units we're going to get and what the profit margins are and that stuff.
I don't think it's going to be that, because everything has become so expensive and so backlogged that we're not going to get this influx that we really need. We have that need, but it's not going to happen. It's not going to be feasible to happen.
So
I'm not necessarily in agreement with that.
okay, so what would your unit look like, or your development look
Well,
like?
first of all, they don't have to be identical. Secondly, there should be more space between them. Somebody could have a barbecue outside. Okay?
Well, okay, what happened in
And they could
Harvard,
have
I
playgrounds
don't
for
know
kids.
enough about Harvard.
no, but what happened in Harvard was because they were trying to fulfill a state mandate
Mhm.
forced upon them
Right.
to provide that housing.
I agree,
Not
Laura.
Harvard's fault.
I-
Won't be our fault here
Well,
either.
Laura, I understand all that, but what Harvard failed to do is they took all their problems and concentrated on one site. When they had the opportunity, they could have dispersed that over town, and it would have been a much better solution. Right? So, yes, Townsend has an
And far
obligation
more
too.
expensive to
But
the
we-
developer. To the developer. So where are you gonna get a developer to take money out of their pocket?
Yeah.
It's a bigger project too. We're talking about a bigger project.
Yeah, it is a bigger project. I mean, I don't,
When you force
would I live
towns
there? I don't
to
know.
increase their
I lived in
rent to meet
Manhattan in a
some
walk-up.
standard, that's what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
Like 2 families in 3
When
rooms.
you're forcing towns
love it.
to-
And once again,
That's like saying, okay, we'll just take that whole second of town and make a mobile park there. And meet that housing requirement. Okay? That's pretty irresponsible.
Well, that's what they do.
But that is what they do, and how are you gonna fulfill the need of housing? There are people, I'll tell you, I listed a small mobile home last weekend, 2 weekends, whatever. And a 2-bedroom, under 1,000 square feet, okay? And in one day, 4 showings, 4 offers the next day, all list and hire. People do not have housing. These are the choices that they have for what they can afford. For what they can afford.
That's why homeless go on the street rather than in a homeless shelter, because they don't want to be controlled.
I don't blame them.
I don't either. I'd rather live on the street and have somebody dictate everything I do in my life.
Absolutely.
Right.
I
But-
agree. We agree.
but once-
wholeheartedly on
but
that.
once again, that's their choice. That's a choice right there.
Well, again, what we're finding is we have a government forcing this on us. And I understand the community has an obligation to do something about that.
True.
But it should not be a bribery. It should not be a payoff for you to do this.
So,
I
I agree,
understand
but that's
incentives.
what they do.
Right,
So,
and I
my
don't know if
question-
this town has to go along with all that.
Okay, Ian,
so my question is how this translate to like occupant wellness in like in this aspect, because I see that this,
what can we put in here that is doable?
yeah,
That's
because I do,
doable.
We can do the net zero stuff. If they want to put them all together like that, then they have to counterbalance it with something else that's gonna take some of that
So
stuff
what do you
away.
suggest we put in here?
So you,
Just what I said,
Is public health, safety, welfare, that,
and wellness.
what is that to a developer? I guess I'd not follow it,
That's fine, we want them to ask.
but so you're telling a developer that he needs to put like everybody has to have a barbecue pit? I'm
No,
not really
no,
sure.
we're not telling him what he has to do.
Well, what, because wellness could be so many, I don't know. It's,
I'm trying to translate
Carol,
it to.
all I'm trying to do is focus attention to that social problem, okay?
that's why I
Right,
think
and-
public health covers that.
Carol, let me
Yeah.
finish. Focus attention. That new word in here is gonna ask questions, okay? And that's gonna say, people in the planet are gonna say, when they go and meet Beth and Mike, they're gonna say, what's this?
Okay.
Okay?
Isn't
And they're
welfare-
gonna explain, we're concerned about the lifestyle and the happiness of these people there, okay? And so, it's something we're gonna look at.
Okay.
And when it comes to planning board,
So
we,
how do I know when?
so why we just don't
Why
put,
not?
instead of occupant wellness, why we don't just put protection of the public health and wellness?
Okay.
that's great, thank you.
Okay,
I like that, thank you very much.
thank you, Robert.
Thank you. I'm
Okay.
sorry, I get very emotional.
Yes, I know you're very passionate. So B, applicability, any change of use or increase in intensity of use, which would under the parking schedule table of minimum requirements of 145-33 require 5 or more parking spaces regardless of the number of parking spaces existing on the premises shall be permitted only upon the issuance of a special permit from a special permit granting authority for the site plan review in conformance with this section 145-65 and blah, blah, blah.
So I can do those out for you too, for Robert. So that's 145-33 and 145-65. So he has a copy of that as well.
So you have that.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, the way that written still is appropriate. And the way I see it, it compels everything to come before us to issue a special permit. And that provides the community an opportunity to review the parking and make common sense judgments about what's maybe reasonable or appropriate.
Well, is the parking
In other
table of
words,
minimum requirements something that should be reviewed too, based on today's standards?
well, I guess I'm getting a little confused with the planning board, zoning board's role would be in this. Because the applicant would have to consider both. It appears to me that we haven't had any real problems with the bylaw that we have on parking. You know, it's been pretty acceptable
Mhm.
for a long time in this community, and we really haven't had any negative results of the
I don't think
bylaw
so.
as it sits. The only thing that I can suggest, and
I don't think it should be 5.
That's something I maybe could look at.
I think
the
it
only
should
thing
be
that I
more.
think may have an impact is it's some of these areas we have, I mean, I'm just talking about what I visually see when I go around, not just Townsend, but the communities. Just vast amount of empty parking
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah, that's what I'm
And
saying.
everybody talking about climate change and everything. You know, our trees absorb the heat and they protect our from ultraviolet stuff. And these things, these asphalt paved surfaces actually contribute to the climate problem. So I don't know how it's such a science and
Transportation.
so I certainly wouldn't want to increase the requirements.
Correct.
But
Can I just note that the last time the table of minimum requirements was amended was 1997.
1997, and we haven't had any problems with it.
Yeah, so, you know, that's,
Well, there's
if you. feel
another
like-
amendment, 2000, January 4th, 2000.
Oh, I'm looking on the, I'm actually looking on the table of minimum requirements, so it wasn't that long ago, I guess, you know. But you're right, though, I mean, there is a trend towards less parking,
Right.
and not that Townsend's a city or
Well,
anything, but.
particularly when you're dealing with mixed use properties. So, for example, let's just take,
Shared spaces.
let's take where the dollar store is, okay?
Mm.
And is invested in and owns that real estate. He's having trouble leasing it, okay? So what
Only
alternative?
one space left.
So what would this investor think of? He probably would try to put mixed use residential on top of it,
Okay,
so he can double load his parking,
oh, okay.
okay?
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah,
No, if I were
He was
an
gonna do that, but
architect,
that's not gonna be done now.
if he were a client of mine, I would suggest that to him,
sure.
Okay.
Use those spaces that-
because everybody wins in that kind of situation.
Yeah.
But I guess the question is, do you have to revisit the table of minimum requirements for parking as they are now? But that's, the only reason I bring that up is that you've just addressed it in section B of 145-42. So is that something you want to do, or do you want to not do? Or, I mean, 97 isn't that old, but, and as Robert mentioned.
Is
if
there
it's
something we
working-
can do to, is there something we can do to allow for a mixed use situation that would alter the parking requirements?
Oh, that's a good question. So if mixed use isn't even,
Addressed here?
it isn't,
No,
Correct.
and it should be.
okay, yeah. So that's a subsection, it
should be.
should be a new subset, section, right?
Sure.
Of the table of minimum requirements. But,
Carol?
So what would you change on the mix?
Do
So
you
if you
have a
would
copy of
mixed
that
use,
too, Carol? Yeah.
I would include a provision for mixed
What?
use.
yeah.
You
okay,
do,
and
but
then what would
here's
be the
another one that's
parking? How would
easier
you
for you.
change the parking?
The table of minimum requirements is
Because-
referenced in 42.
So you would check, I'm just coming up with ideas of how that could be changed.
No,
But if we're thinking about a mixed use,
retail and residential.
if we were thinking
Mixed
about a
use.
mixed use project, then I would use the higher parking standard for the highest use, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm. So I guess that's doable now with.
Yes.
Here,
I don't know why it wouldn't be.
Yeah,
so you don't need to create a new.
Yeah, so you can have a standard, the highest use
Mhm.
would dictate the parking requirement, and then, so
Okay.
whether it's all residential the first 10 years and then goes to commercial after that, then that's how,
that's reasonable.
All right, I mean, I don't know if that needs to be added or if it's just understood. It's at the board's discretion, so it doesn't have to be added, correct?
I'm sorry.
What you just said in terms of the highest used, it's at the
It's a
board's.
suggestion,
Well,
if they want to vote on something or make a recommendation, that's fine, but I'm just pointing out things that I think could be improved.
Mm-hmm.
And also the minimum requirements, so I don't know if we really. need to-
We'll see if there's all other uses, parking spaces adequate to accommodate all normal demand. as determined by the planning board. So there's
I
your
think that should cover it.
flexibility. Okay. You could determine. Okay. Thank you.
So you don't want to do a specific misuse.
That's pretty general, all other uses.
Well, it is.
So I would leave it, the more general it is, the better it is.
Yeah, but if you're a potential developer,
Mhm.
if you see a section on misuse, it gives you the information you need right away.
Mhm. Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with adding it, and the other uses can still be there. But I mean,
Fine.
you look at it, look at the listings they have. Industrial warehouse, place of the public assembly, bowling alley, tennis court. Okay, so what's wrong with adding them?
Mixed use.
Mixed use.
I think the term should be, added,
Yeah, because it's just understood as residential and commercial. Yeah,
mixed use.
it's the industry.
It's something that we want to allow
Yeah.
them to do. So
Right.
let's make it available for them to know that they can do that.
What would be the best way? And it would be a new category, basically residential, non-residential, and then new category mixed
Mixed
use.
use.
Yeah.
Again, you look at this one on the non-residential uses. Places of public assembly, all right, and they tie it to the building code, right?
Yeah.
That could be an overburden to the community and the developer.
Yeah.
Because some assemblies aren't happening 24/7. Some are rare. So if the town wants to have a town picnic, or somebody wants to rent the town common for a town picnic, how are they gonna deliver that kind of performance? You understand? So that sounds to me, I read that and it's like a cop-out just to get the subject matter taken care of.
Could strike that. Could you strike it entirely?
Well, I think it's gonna depend on what kind of assembly we're talking about, you know what I mean? I mean, the assembly, the building code talks about different types of assembly, all right? As it relates to a building, not to parking.
Yeah, the linkage is. So you recommend striking or amending it?
I think that's gotta be looked at, I don't,
You have to look at the.
right,
state
this is
building
not fair to
code.
anybody, the way this is written.
So look at the state building code then and maybe talk to the building commissioner or something like that, or.
Yeah, if it's based in the state building code, I don't know what the code
So-
says. Maybe the code says that.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
and-
it's not a comprehensive program for the non-residential. They have restaurant and bar, okay? So, okay, what about a function hall? Is that assembly or is that a restaurant or a bar? What is it? Okay? Take a VFW hall, take all the different types of buildings. So, this is all over the place. A developer wouldn't know what we're looking for.
Yeah.
And even an
What about
architect
ball
trying to plan his building would
What
not
about
know.
the kids where they have to park when the parents all come to watch a game?
Yeah.
That's public assembly.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Spalding School gets pretty tight over there when I go watch my
Yeah,
granddaughter play
yeah.
softball.
Well,
Plus, the parking lot's got able parking, but there's no exit.
Oh,
It's weird. It's very weird.
just as an example, look at this category. Supposing I want an auto repair business. I'm a sole proprietor. I just want to, service and work on secondhand cars and stuff, right?
yeah.
Where am I gonna go? Retail sales and service?
Hmm.
One space for every 100 square feet of sales floor? Okay,
No.
I don't fit in. Where do I go? Am I a business?
Industrial. You could be
Your
under
business,
industrial.
yeah, non-residential business.
Well,
That's not good
again,
for applause.
yeah, so this
1,000 square feet.
this is not a good, I think the residential part is more understood than the non-residential,
Mhm.
but the way they classify this and it's not inclusive, you know, not comprehensive.
Where
And
are the trees supposed to be? Where it says parking lot plantings
Oh, yeah. That's the question.
so
and
Beth,
number 6, I mean. where's
isn't that zoning board?
No, where are we?
Wouldn't this be zoning board?
Parking lot planting, yeah, that's. No, this,
It's a zoning bylaw,
it's
right?
provisions applicable to all districts, yes, but you're actually, the site plan review that
We do
you're
the
granting a
bylaws.
special permit for
Hmm.
is also the zoning bylaw.
Okay.
You're using all the zoning bylaws in your decision making. So that's an all-inclusive
Right. But
special permit.
somehow I think zoning should be aware of this. This zoning bylaws got to be changed, I think.
Would you be interested in looking at that parking table of minimum requirements?
I got so much to do, but I certainly like to point out,
I like
Where-
number 6.
you know, help people and show them what the
Yeah, but
issues
look-
are.
Think about all the places in town that have
I
a
know,
lot of parking spaces. Where are the trees?
there isn't any.
There isn't any in the parking lots.
No.
Where would you put the trees?
Well, you put them down the middle. I could see
Well,
it.
this is for new projects, yeah, it's definitely, it can't be, it's older parking lots, can't, can't be subject to that. Newer projects that come
Well,
for
I'm
you.
sure. You
I know,
can't go
but isn't that
back,
discriminatory?
How,
In that you are making people do something that other people didn't have to do?
well, isn't that the nature of bylaw amendments? I mean, they change.
but-
Would
And
they fall into grandfather in?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Wouldn't
I think
that-
there's a
yeah,
different
wouldn't that
term
be-
for it now, but I forget what
wouldn't
the
that,
proper
wouldn't
term
that
is,
be a
but-
grandfather thing? But I do like it.
That needs a lot of work. I don't think we can address it.
Is this ours, the parking requirement?
Well, it's referenced in site plan review.
No,
special-
but are we,
Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
sure,
yeah.
Sure, that's in the code, but yeah, that was,
so we can redo this one?
It's actually in the code. Yeah.
so you can review that. That's the table of minimum requirements, which triggers your site plan review.
Well, Laura, you were smart taking this one step at a time.
I mean, how else can you do it? All right, we're still on. Okay, I see, we're on B, and that's all about this. Oh, why don't we take this home and see if we find anything, and then discuss it the next time? As far as any changes to the other two.
Yeah, the other two sections, and just kind of, if you want to finish 145, 42, just as a cursory,
Yeah.
thing, and then dig into the detail of 145, 33, and 145, 65.
Yeah. All right, going on to 1, however, such special permit is required for a change of use where the following conditions apply. And then A, the site has been in compliance with a previously issued site plan review special permit under this section for at least the immediate preceding 12 months, and there have been no changes to the site that were not anticipated by earlier permit.
That's fine.
So that means there's no special permit required.
Yeah. The new
Excuse me, the only thing I would say on that one is the preceding 12 months, that's not a very long time. Usually by the time property transfers and they start planning what they want to do, it's 24 months or 36 months should be more appropriate for them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Give them a
I do.
realistic time
Yeah,
and not
especially the way
burden them
some
to
of
go
the
through all
stuff
that again.
goes.
Would you like to make it 24 months?
Yeah, I would say a minimum of 24.
Yeah, I agree. The new use does not require more parking spaces than the number required by the previously issued site plan review special permit. So here is a case where,
Well,
so it's not a new
that
use.
makes sense. So we don't want to expand something that was given a special permit before, right? So I think that stays the same.
Planning board finds by this same vote that would be required for issuing a special permit, and based on the actual history of the site, and after consulting with the police department and the board of selectmen, that the earlier site plan review special permit adequately addresses the purpose of the site plan review special permit, and that the new use does not differ in ways that would invalidate the assumptions, findings, or conditions of the earlier permit.
Instead of, the only thing I would change in that paragraph is consulting with appropriate town departments. I think we want input from the health department, input from the fire department, and input from the building department.
Okay, so not just limited to those two. I'm good with that because
So strike those two or leave them
no,
in?
just put appropriate
Appropriate
departments.
town departments.
Okay,
That should cover it.
where would you insert that?
Cross out
Police.
police and the board of selectmen
Right.
and put the appropriate town departments.
Okay, that
Right.
a little bit,
Vague.
How
You
much
think
of a
that's too
role do you
vague?
think the board of selectmen have in this anyway?
the board of selectmen have a lot of say in projects. In
I
terms
know.
of, so, in the police department because of public safety.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have any problem with public safety at all, you know, police department, fire department, health department.
Do you have to say
Building
all
department.
public safety departments
Public, yeah, all.
and the
public
board of selectmen? But then
I-
that doesn't always limit it because I like all departments.
Well, I think it's all right the way we do now. We get comments from every board, the selectmen and the zoning board, and they
Well,
put their input
Now,
in,
when
the
we
fire
do the-
department
When
does.
we do the referrals, doesn't it go to everybody?
So let me just clarify what this says. What this is it's saying that if you have a special permit that was issued
Before.
previously, and you want to not go through the process again with the town, then you have to prove that, well, the planning board has to consult based on the old permit and the new use that's proposed. They have to consult with the police department and the board of selectmen, and they can, basically vote that they don't need to issue another one. So I don't know if that's explaining it well, but it's
It
a
does
little
explain it.
difficult.
It's difficult because it was a pre-existing special permit,
Yeah.
which
so-
implies all this has been reviewed in the past.
Yeah,
But the new use could change that.
yes, and this is what we're
Right,
trying
and
to
that's why I
catch.
think what we just proposed here is much wiser.
Okay, so you would like to consult with appropriate departments. Including but not limited to the police department and the board of selectmen. Is that okay?
Yeah, or
Including but not,
all
because you
appropriate town departments, including the board of selectmen, we want their input too.
all.
Well, I think that's a lot better. I don't know about number D.
The site is located within the ground mounted solar, well, this was an add-on, I'm sure, yeah, 2011. The site is located within the ground mounted solar energy district. We just have one district for that?
Well, that district was removed because the ground mounted solar energy bylaw was replaced, and I just don't think this was ever.
I don't think it's,
So
even- it
let's,
doesn't even apply anymore.
right,
Correct.
We don't have a solar district.
You're right. you're
okay,
right.
so do we just eliminate this?
Eliminate.
D can be completely removed.
Hallelujah, that's
Yeah.
advancement right there, okay?
Good update.
We don't need to keep repeating ourselves. Okay, so before making the determination that a site is eligible for the exemption of subsection B1, the building inspector shall notify the planning board of the proposed change of use in a timely manner. The planning board may act on such determination without a public hearing. An applicant need not wait for determination by the building inspector or planning board prior to filing an application for a new site plan review special permit. Why would they do that?
Yeah.
If they could get away with not doing it, why would they do that?
Yeah.
Before making determination of the site, that a site is eligible for the exemption of blah, blah, the building inspector shall notify the planning board of the proposed change of use in a timely manner. The planning board may act on such determination without a public hearing. I think that's good. I think all that's good. An applicant may not wait, need not wait for such determination by the building inspector or planning board prior to filing an application for a new site plan review special.
I don't know. I'm just trying to relate to some of my clients that have had some. This is a problem that I have with my clients. And a lot of building departments say we won't look at anything until you give us a full set of drawings of the whole project. So they have to pay me to do entire construction project drawings for a project that may not even be approved.
Right.
And that is
Which is
totally
awful.
wrong.
Yeah, it's totally wrong.
There should be a provision here for a pre-review before, and again, it's going to be some kind of comprehensive information on what's going to be
We
built.
do have that, right? Because they can.
Yeah.
So where is that in here? We may
Well,
have
the
it.
way what I think this is saying is what I'm trying to ask for.
Okay.
That's what I suspect, that I'm not clear the way it's written.
Yeah, well, I'm not either.
But I think this is a very important thing because if a potential developer is going to do a project, it would be a deterrent for him to go forward if he knows he could risk all this expense with engineering and architects. And of course, the more complex the project is, the more capital improvement it needs. So I think there should be a preliminary review about the feasibility of the project prior to having them make a full set of comprehensive drawings.
Yeah, okay, so we allow that.
Allowed in this.
Do we need it in the code?
Don't think so, but does this allow for that?
No, what we're trying to do is we're going to allow the building inspector
Yeah.
to have a hearing with zoning and planning
Uh-huh.
prior to submitting a full set of plans
Oh,
for
so you would
drawing.
be like a building committee almost, a staff level, or, because when you pull the board together, that's a public hearing, and that's an
That's okay,
different
all
story.
right?
You're
But-
talking a staff level
No.
meeting?
The traditional way is the building department refuses to look at the permit drawings, all the construction drawings. In other words, he has to deny that permit to compel a hearing with the zoning and planning board. That means I, as the architect and as the owner, has to go prepare a full set of plans, to fill out a building permit application, submit it to the building department for their review. And they can determine, well, this needs a special permit, or this needs that.
Okay.
And cannot issue that permit until it's reviewed by a planning or zoning board, or sometimes even a historic group or some other things in other communities. And so that investor lost all that money if he is not successful getting approval from these other agencies, you know? So the point is, why burden the investor with those expenses when those expenses can be reduced to 10%, just presenting a conceptual plan that meets the general things that we want in planning board and zoning board, and a pretty picture and you know, some 3D drawings or whatever, so he can address or just do a site plan review or something like that
At the
to know we can go forward and then invest in sprinkler systems and elevators and everything else he might have to worry about.
Yeah, I think he does that now with the determination.
Right. So I think this is what that's all about, and I'm not sure the way it's written.
Yeah, oh, so the wording, you don't think
It's
really?
very confusing to read.
Okay, maybe we could have a.
Before making the determination that a site is eligible for the exemption, which would come, the determination would come from the building inspector, shall notify the planning board. So he does talk to the building inspector first.
Yes, but what happens, what I think is happening, what this is all about, Laura, everything here is correct, okay? But it prevents Eric, for example, from giving a building permit. In other words, the way it's set up, a investor or developer has to prepare a whole set of plans.
No, I understand that.
Right.
I understand that part.
So what I'm suggesting is we need an avenue for the building inspector to say, you can get a preliminary review.
But we have that, right?
Yeah.
We have that. I know they've been doing it for a while.
Okay, then this should reflect that, that's there.
Okay, so I'm trying to figure out. Proposed change of use in timely manner. Planning board may act on such determination without a public hearing, which that's a good thing because that's another expense. An applicant need not wait for what has me a little. I'm not understanding why. I must be reading this wrong some way. An applicant need not wait for such determination by the building inspector or planning board prior to filing an application for a new site plan review. I'm not understanding why he, she, whoever would do the filing without knowing the determination first.
Yeah,
Right.
that doesn't make sense.
So
Especially if they're going to do this review at not the expense that you're talking about.
right, a cursory review, right? Yeah.
So
I don't even know we need this, do we?
yeah. Well, yes, we do need the first 3 sentences.
Maybe you don't need that plus
Okay.
about the applicant need not wait, take that out.
Yeah, because I don't know, because he doesn't have to wait, but then why would he do it?
The planning board may act on such a determination without a public hearing. That's important.
Yeah, but.
Yeah, that's real
This
important.
one here, this last.
An applicant need not wait for such determination by the building inspector or planning board prior to filing an application for a new.
That
site
means
plan.
the applicant can come right to us without the building inspector.
Correct.
That's what it means.
Okay,
That's
but
fine.
then to what end? If we're gonna wait for the building inspector anyway?
No, we don't
No,
have
we
to.
don't have
He
to.
doesn't have to. You can come to us directly.
I can come take, yeah.
No,
I can
I
take
know,
an
but-
application.
But why would you? Like you're waiting for a
Well,
determination.
I mean, I think that's great.
Okay, I
And
mean,
start working on it. And-
But we're trying to figure out like why, because the building department is one of the departments that it's referred to.
Yeah,
Well,
Help me out here. I'm trying to,
I think this was, Laura, I think this was a clarification of everything we were talking about. Normally, it would have had to go through, they'd have to go through the building department first.
okay, and so
This
they can
gives a
come here.
provision for them to come to us first, and then we can give them some guidance on what to do in terms of a preliminary review,
okay.
to encourage them or not to go forward with it, you know?
okay, but when we're gonna ask them.
I think it should remain now that I think about it.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
I understand what this is about.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Okay, but I do think we have now brought this down to one page.
Excellent.
Once we have eliminated this and made these minor changes,
You're missing.
The only big area was the.
well, there's
parking, right?
another,
Yeah, the only big
I
subject
know I
was
thought-
that.
I'm talking about this page. With nothing on this side now becomes this page.
Sorry.
Okay?
No change to section 2.
No change. No change to section 2 after much discussion and trying to understand
What
it.
this-
Okay, so now we go on to C, procedure. Applications for site plan review, special permit shall be filed with the town clerk and special permit granting authority as specified in the zoning bylaws.
Mhm.
And let me see, changes to that were 95, 96, and 2000, and 2014. I mean, that reads okay to me.
That reads
C.
okay to me too.
Do you want me to read the section of?
So C looks.
I don't
good.
know what those sections are, but
Well, we know what the topics are though.
yeah. So 1, for applicable land disturbance as specified in chapter 85 of the Townsend General Bylaw, a stormwater management application shall be filed in conjunction with application to determine subjectivity to either a minor or major stormwater management permit.
It's
That
fine.
often, I know that we talked about that, but that often doesn't happen. That's always something we kind of have to go back to the applicant and say, you know, based on the amount of land disturbance, you need to file for the stormwater management permit. But I see that it's in here and it's clear. It's just, it's often missed.
It's often missed,
Yeah, in the process, you know, by the applicant.
because they don't read it that far, maybe.
I think so. I'm not
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. Or maybe this should be on the actual application for site plan review. You know, because we're going to amend that form as well.
Well,
Yeah, why don't you do that?
Yeah.
Because I think this, weren't we talking about like to determine subjectivity, either minor or major, because there's going to be a big difference in minor or major.
Yeah. Yeah.
That needs to be clarified.
Maybe we could do it on the
A
application.
little
form.
crazy.
Okay, so,
where are you reading that, Laura?
1 under C, major or minor.
To either
Minor.
major or minor stormwater.
I mean, that can be a bullet on the application form itself, you know, similar to, you know, these different things. we
Yeah.
gotta Be mindful. Okay, so a bullet, on the application.
But
form.
isn't this what Michael was complaining
Yeah,
about with the minor stuff?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that we shouldn't be going through the whole thing.
right, but if
it's
we
just
go to,
minor.
So we do have to change that too,
yeah,
right?
if we
Because
go to,
the
if we eliminate that, Laura, then we'd have to kind of define what a major storm, what a major change would be.
Right, well, that's what I thought he was working on,
Mhm.
that there's a
Table.
certain category, yeah,
Yeah, he was. working on the
Category.
table.
for minor, and doesn't come before planning, and basically staff takes care of it,
Right.
okay? And then major, where he needs
That's just,
input from planning.
okay. So who
And it's
makes
gotta
the-
be over a certain lot size or over
Yeah,
a
a
certain
percentage of lot
disturbance or.
coverage or something?
It's land disturbance, how much disturbance, excavation, that kind of thing, slope, percent
Yeah,
slope and things
yeah.
like that.
Um,
So is this wording need to be changed?
well, wouldn't it be more like a percentage of lot coverage or something?
I saw this table at one
That'll
point.
give you an
Yeah,
idea how
yeah.
big it is, right?
It's in there.
This percentages or slope, it had to do with slope and percentages.
Yeah, either way, it's determined by the land use coordinator, whether it's major or minor.
All right, so as determined by the land use coordinator.
However, if that's vacant, you don't want to change the bylaw to,
Right.
you know, to give that. To put that in the bylaw.
If we don't have somebody, then it has to be the planning board,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah, Yeah.
Yeah, stormwater authority, so it's exactly right, you know, or an agent.
Well, I guess we're getting rid of the minor. So the question is, how do we define what major would be?
well, that's in
It's
his
defined
table.
in the bylaw.
Yeah,
It's in the bylaw?
yeah.
Okay, then let's get rid of
That's
the mi-
something that we'll look at to see if we
Okay.
want to change or agree with him or whatever,
All right,
in the different sections.
all right, so we just want to eliminate minor in that.
Yeah, I agree with them. I mean, I don't know how you would reword it, but I think he's right.
Well, I think you gotta change the whole. As, as determined,
How difficult is the
as
stormwater
determined to be a major disturbance.
application?
Yeah, I difficult to file it.
How many pages is it?
Well, the thing is, it's the determination, sort of like what the building commissioner does, that's important. You know what I mean? So if you have to file a major permit, then you would need all the drainage calculations, you would need the stormwater report for the whole site.
Mhm.
So that's pretty extensive and it's pretty expensive.
Right.
Yeah,
So the determination is really the important thing.
Can we
So-
refer to the other? We just, Laura just said this
Yeah.
is already defined in the zoning bylaw, right?
In the regs that you recently
Yeah.
amended. So maybe that's a good idea, just to refer to,
Refer back to that,
yeah, for a description of whether or not you need to file or not.
right, wouldn't
Yeah.
that make sense?
okay, so.
Yeah, I like that, because
You
it
want
does give
regulation
them.
table? What do you want? What is it called?
Right,
That you would add after stormwater management
I think
permit?
that, I think the number is 17544, but it's the, basically the stormwater management, plan.
so maybe
Yeah,
that
but
should
that-
read, refer to section such and such, number one.
Yeah, okay. So
Just begin the whole thing with refer to such and such and such.
okay, to the section, the appropriate section,
Right.
for requirements of filing or, yeah,
All right, so we don't have to go back on that.
refer section, you know, and I'll add that in to determine filing requirements for stormwater.
So number two just goes with the same thing.
Yeah,
Right?
that's pretty easy, yeah.
Yeah, so eliminate both of those, just refer to them.
Isn't too redundant?
If applicable. Yeah, but they must have put it in there for a reason, I think, because that was a pretty recent amendment, 2014. I think when the new bylaw came out, they just wanted to make sure it was.
It's all redundant to me. I don't think we need either of those things.
Okay.
But if you have the one in, like the description.
Yeah.
And then refer to the appropriate section,
That's it.
which should say strict adherence to that chapter 85, and that's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
I agree.
So just strike 2 altogether?
Yeah, and just add, refer to appropriate
Refer
section
to the other section. Right.
Okay.
And this is referred,
with strict
this
adherence.
is omitted. and
Keep strict adherence to chapter 85,
Okay.
because in the first sentence, you're referring to
Yes.
in the chapter of the Townsend bylaws. Just do chapter 85, because that, you don't have to repeat the whole thing.
Well, chapter 85 is a huge chapter.
Yeah, what do you want to do?
Huh?
What do you want to do? Outline what pages they should look at?
Well, no, there's usually specific sections and,
Well, there's specific section for the determination of
Yeah.
applicability,
right.
which I'll reference.
Okay, fine,
Okay.
section.
I'll look at that with Mike.
All right, so that will cut that down a little bit. D, drawing requirements. Oh, God. Site design plan subject to site plan review, special permit shall be prepared by a registered architect, landscape engineer, professional land surveyor, or professional engineer, all of which are very expensive. The site design plan shall be prepared at a scale no less than 1 inch equals 20 feet.
That's the size drawings we're getting now.
Well, his was 1 to 50.
Well, it
We
depends on
just
how
saw.
big the lot is.
Mhm.
I don't
seems-
think that's appropriate. you know.
Yeah, that seems better.
I mean, we could have a drawing the size of the room. if
Yeah,
you-
we don't want to do that. So we just want 1 inch equals 20 feet. Wouldn't we want it
40 or
bigger
50?
to be so that it's
Well,
more succinct?
what most site engineers do when there's a big parcel, they have a minor scale, real narrow scale, so describing the whole parcel in the scope of the project, okay? And then they focus usually 1 inch equals 20 on the very specific things around the building, okay? So I think that's what that intent is, because if you have anything less than that, it's gonna be very hard to read, and it's gonna be very hard to,
No, I want it to go,
bigger, no.
no.
You want the scale to be
1 in 20 is the standard,
Is it?
yeah.
Okay. then-
And what that means is,
So what we-
if this is a whole lot, and I'm only worried about this area, I have a mini view of the whole lot,
You know this now.
and that's at a very,
Yeah,
small
yeah.
scale.
I,
And then at 1 in 20, okay, is the
Focus.
area really of importance to the building, okay? And so most buildings will fit on a D-size drawing like that at a 1 in 20 scale.
so there's the house, and this is a 1 to 50 scale.
Right,
All right.
right. So he had a big lot, so he scaled it all down to
Mhm.
show you everything.
Which is
But what he was
very
talking about,
legible.
no, but he was only had to talk about lots, okay?
And we're talking. about-
Right. If we're doing a site plan review, we got building and parking
Right.
spaces and driveways and curb cuts.
Yeah.
So we need a closer view, a magnified view of what's going on.
This area.
So if you look at that, and he was working, he's gonna do a project on that middle lot, that's what we have at 120,
Mhm.
okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
So leave it as is and read them. Yeah.
Okay, and
Yeah, I don't see any
that's something
problem
that
with
can be waived if it goes before planning and they can see what they need to see.
Yeah, let's see if that's in there, but I'm sure that that's been done.
Yeah, I know we've done. it.
Yeah.
Shall show all existing proposed buildings, existing proposed contour elevations, structures, parking spaces, driveway openings, and driveways within a 200-foot radius of the project, service areas, facilities for sewerage, refuge, other waste disposal, and for surface water drainage, wetlands, surface water areas subject to 100-year flood and landscape features such as trees, shrubs, fences, walls, planting walks, lighting, both existing and proposed. The site plan shall also show the relation of the above features to adjacent ways and properties and contain a locus map at a scale not greater than 1 inch to 2,000 feet. So that's that little overview that you're
That's right.
talking about.
But see, this was amended. So I don't know what they
96.
changed.
This site plan shall also show all contiguous land owned by applicant or by owner of the project site.
Right. So
Mhm.
I guess what we're looking at is the amended form. Is that correct? Okay, so that's fine. I think that's
Yeah, I don't
fine.
think there's anything, I mean, I don't know, is there something you would add to that?
No,
Yeah,
Yeah.
like there's enough.
We got that one. Drainage.
One, special provisions for drawing requirements. A special permit granting authority may, at its option following a preliminary review, waive the requirement that site design plans be prepared by a registered blah, blah, blah. Yeah,
I don't
Yeah.
like that. I don't like that.
we have the option, the planning board has the option.
Hmm.
I don't remember
I.
when we ever did it.
To me, it's
We did
the
it.
same standard for every project and, I don't want to be in a situation where somebody could claim that we gave somebody a break, but they didn't give them the same break. And you've got to think, whatever project's coming here is going to be of some substance, okay? And
Well, we have had.
the only time
requests
that
for
would
it, but I
happen.
don't know. Have we
Yeah,
granted?
and you have
Right.
granted it at 256 Main Street.
Okay, but for example,
Oh,
For example.
we just did it.
Exactly.
yeah, we just did it down here,
Yeah,
Exactly.
right? And I had a
but there
problem.
was no change.
No, but I had a problem with that, okay? No, everybody looked at it, they didn't see any problem.
Right.
So it was easy to waive it,
Right,
and that's totally understandable, and I understand why people doing it, and we're trying to help them. And I want to help people too, but the problem I have with that is, that's a change of use. There's a different type of occupant in that building, right? So, don't you think because it's a residential building now, there might be questions about security? There might be questions about where the dumpster may be? Do you think there might be questions about, is there gonna be children here in a playground? All
no,
right, so those are, even though the building's not changing and the lot's not changing, he got away with a lot there.
yeah, but he owns the building to the left, there's apartments in that building.
Mhm.
The building to the right also had a change of use because it used to be a business, it used to be the video place.
Mhm.
Where you stop in and pick up videos and return them, that kind of thing. And also is a multifamily use.
Right.
So it's surrounded by like versus it wasn't before.
I understand, and
I
again,
think that's what.
I didn't say anything about it because it was really not a big deal, but the other side of that is, there are very few projects that would even be allowed, in my view. So if you want to retain that right, I suppose you can. But I think when we have, the more you add on to a bylaw, the more you have opportunities for dispute and challenge, you know what I mean? So,
241. Street. That was an engineered site plan, but it wasn't engineered for the special permit.
Right.
So 241 was an engineered site plan, but it was a historic plan, so. And that was a change from commercial to mixed
Yeah,
commercial.
Right.
yeah,
That's a case
Well,
where.
again,
yeah,
I'm just talking about,
but that made sense.
we had another applicant here about a veterinary hospital, right? Or,
Yep.
right?
Yeah,
She didn't want to pay for a site plan.
So.
That
I
one
would
we
just
really
like-
needed information. Okay.
yeah, we can't do that.
That's a public hearing that has been.
Not
continued.
closed. We
Hmm?
can't talk about it, that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, public hearing.
So, I mean, we had other ones that have already closed and voted on.
Correct.
That we just spoke of.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I like the option of being able to do things that make sense.
Yeah.
You know,
I do too. I think that's fine, and I don't want to discourage people from coming before us and being intimidated by us.
right,
So I understand that, and I think that we have a responsibility to respond to them appropriately. But then the other side, in doing that, we expose ourselves to criticism.
that's gonna happen anyway.
You're probably right.
So I'm gonna try to move this along because now we've gone longer than I thought we were gonna go tonight for our work session. Okay, and we are not going to get to anything else, because we're gonna break up by 9.
Okay,
Get up. Yeah.
I think we did a lot though.
Well, I'd like to finish 145-42, which is just this one page that
Right.
will not be reduced. How come this says,
Yeah, I want to make sure you're updated.
how come this says 145-42 on the pages, and this is the last of it, yet it says 145-43?
I think it was
Typo?
it might not have been updated properly. That's why I'm looking at yours,
Because right there,
not seeing the
right here.
same thing. Okay.
it starts at
45.
145-43.
So, yeah, all right.
So
you
it just
probably-
finishes up and starts a new section.
Oh,
It's an update, because the
See.
books
Oh,
were
can we
updated. at
fix
different
this?
times.
So this should actually be on this should have.
Another
like a
sheet. Well, it's over here. We should try to put that together,
Yeah. I'll have to do
if
that
that's
out of
possible.
session.
It's probably
If you
just the
want
way
to
the
continue with
page.
mine.
Print it out.
No, wait a
Yeah,
minute.
this is right here, but it's actually just refers to this section, this paragraph.
43,
Yeah.
44,
So.
and
this should have
starts in
been like on
45.
a new
Maybe you
page
can
or
get
something.
Okay.
43 and 44 together, and then 45 can go on.
I have the whole 145, 42. Is that what you don't have? You guys don't have that? 145, 42 in its entirety as it is
Yeah.
in the code?
Yeah, but but the law,
We're okay, it's still the same.
Is it? Because it should go through page 3. So there should be, section D, E.
Well, we've got 1, 2, 3,
Right.
F, G, H.
yeah,
but
it's
but it's only one part is on 3.
like the last 3 sentences.
I'm told we're all talking about the same thing, so I don't know.
I hope so.
I'll read mine. This is from the code. This is
Oh.
from the E code. This is the updated, and that's why I'm not sure that your books are 100% updated.
Only because it's just showing 145-43 is.
They should be updated.
Yeah, okay.
I
So go
The
ahead
books. should
Okay.
be-
I don't think that changes anything. It's
Okay,
great.
No,
so yeah,
no.
go ahead and I'll
No,
tell
but-
you.
It's
Yeah.
formatting, that's all it is.
Yeah, hopefully that is what it is.
It's just.
So we're okay with D. We've done C, and haven't changed anything.
Okay, so for D, I think my copy has more. It didn't stop with the waiver. It says, in considering applications for waivers, do you have that? The special permit granting authority shall consider whether the proposed plans indicate any new construction or expansion of existing structures. You guys don't have that in your book? Because then I know that.
Yeah,
Oh, you
well,
do.
wait a minute.
Oh,
Special
okay.
permitting granting authority shall consider whether the proposed plans indicate a new construction or expansion of existing structures, it's right here.
Okay.
I have it under 1.
Okay,
Right.
that's
Is
where you
yours
were,
1?
right?
Okay,
Okay,
That's fine.
so,
Okay, good.
yeah, we said that was okay.
Where there is a recorded service agreement.
of course, it's in a lot.
There's nothing wrong.
This
with
is
that.
redundant from another section. Exactly word for word,
Oh, where?
the one we just went through. 45, 42. Wait a minute, I'm looking at, no, 145, 42.
Yeah, I'll just pop it up for you, because I think there might be a discrepancy.
Mhm.
Do you have a copy?
I didn't see it.
So where are you saying it's the same?
There's.
Special
No, we-
provisions has the same verbiage here as the one, it sounds like where we put the, oh. Oh, it's right above it. It's the exact same verbiage is right above it in the D. Why are you repeating the whole thing? We're there.
They're talking about, this one is for
That's
preliminary review though, I think section 1.
The drawing requirements,
The requirements, for-
and then special provision for drawing requirement. They're saying the same thing.
not really for, they're making an exception for
Made the
preliminary.
option for the preliminary.
For the preliminary.
Just to make sure we're all looking at the same thing. These are my crib notes, but this is the entirety of 125. Just to make sure. We can keep going from there.
Wow. Hmm.
So, or what this is talking about is the requirements for final approval. Then they have paragraph 1, which is
The option.
less a standard for the preliminary review.
For the same things.
Right, so in other words, they don't have to do all the requirements addressed in number D,
Okay,
right? Because if they're doing a preliminary review, they only have to do that,
okay. All right,
so that makes sense.
So you just finished section 1,
yeah,
and there are no changes?
no.
Oh. It's okay. Section 1 is open.
Yeah, it is good provision.
The waiver shall not remove the requirement that site design plans be drawn to scale and depict those items stated in subsections C through G. That was changed in 2000.
Well,
All
So
right.
what's
that's
going on?
scale.
Oh, you're just reading the loss.
I was just reading the last of number 1.
Yeah, that's all.
All right,
And then E, access and circulation. Provisions shall be made for vehicular and pedestrian access to the project site and circulation upon the site in which a manner as to safeguard against hazards to traffic and pedestrians in the street and upon the site to avoid traffic congestion on any street and to provide safe and convenient circulation in the street and upon the site. Access and circulation shall also conform to the following. Anybody want to change anything there?
I don't see
Yeah.
where, this is all practical, realistic stuff. I don't see anything in here that I see as an issue.
All right,
It's just normal stuff that you'd want to ask.
and you don't think it's repetitive?
I think in some respects, it may have to be to clarify things, but I don't think that's. I haven't. I don't see anything here that would be out of the ordinary.
Okay,
Wouldn't be reasonable to expect.
so do you see anything in one? I don't, we're reasonable, so 2,
No,
where's, okay. 3,
no,
Okay with that.
4,
no. I mean, that's
Oh,
logical
yeah.
stuff, right?
Okay.
5
5,
has to be the proper grade, right?
6,
Well, topos can produce some unusual circumstances. But the subject matter is still the same.
yeah,
so
and, okay, so safety is primary
7,
there. 7. There we show no more than one driveway connection from any project site to any street, except that separate entrance and exit driveways may be provided where necessary to safeguard against hazards to avoid congestion.
That all makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense.
That all makes sense. I don't see anything that would change there.
Okay, C, procedure for the application. For site plan review, special permit shall be filed with the town clerk and special permit granting authority as specified. I think. 95,
not what I
96, 2000, it's 145-2C.
No, you were reading here.
Oh, because I'm reading from my book.
E7, yeah, don't read.
Oh, jeez.
Okay.
Is that what happened?
Yeah,
Yeah, the book is not updated, so the copy
Oh.
that I just gave you is what we're gonna.
okay, okay, so, unless greater width is required by town bylaw, okay. F, existing streets where the project site has frontage on existing street, proper provision shall be made for grading and improvement. So that's all okay?
Yeah.
G. Subsections A through G, supplementary of other provisions of the zoning bylaw affecting access, circulation, design, and landscaping parking. Where the applications the greater restriction than imposed by other provisions.
That's
of the
fine,
zoning
too.
bylaw. Just, okay. Special permit granting authority, this section shall be the planning board, except that if use requires special permit from zoning under whatever, and requires at most 8 parking spaces. And it's not on a state highway or state numbered road. And the special permit granting authority shall be the zoning board. Yeah, because otherwise they have to go to the state.
And this is actually, this bylaw here is residential, well, 145-26B is different permits, special permits that are required in a residential district. So in that case, I guess the zoning board of appeals would be the special permit granting authority for site plan review, which is interesting because it hasn't happened since I've been here, but there are projects where the mixed use, the 145-27C is the mixed use that we did for 241 Main Street. So that if that was not on a state numbered road, it would have been the ZBA who was doing the site plan review, which is interesting. Yeah.
Huh.
And
So they should know. They should know as well how to
Okay,
go through this. Yeah. Yeah. There's a couple there.
it's pretty illuminating.
Yeah. It hasn't happened since I've been here, but that's, yeah. I'm not sure why that's in there.
okay, so we have gotten through 145-42.
Good job, Laura.
That helped us.
We did it.
So we are, and that was 5 pages, which will hopefully be 4 now. Okay,
Yeah, that was good though.
Yeah.
That was good to go do that.
Hooray.
Yeah.
I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion. to
9:02.
adjourn At 9:02.
That is definitely wrong.
I say,
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Robert,
Ian Ortiz. Yes.
Carol Hofstas.
And Laura Schifrin.
is mine.
Yes.
I think so.